Hello. This is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you are watching an episode of the Rebound Coach Live. I'm so glad you're here today. Today we are talking about Superwoman's Kryptonite. And just in case, if you're watching now and this live, it speaks to you and you're thinking about people who need to hear this, go ahead and share it with them. If you're watching this on Facebook, please just hit the share button. If you are watching a recast of this on YouTube, still hit the share button, like and subscribe, all the things. I don't normally say that, so I wanted to make sure I said that. And if you got this in your inbox or someone sent you this thing and you see this person with braids on your feed and you're like, who is that and what is a rebound coach and who are you and why should I listen to you talk? Okay. I'm Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach. This is the Rebound Coach Live. A rebound coach, a life coach, helps people get unstuck. I help people start new things or start again. And in the area of relationship with self, I serve high achieving women of faith who've lived through betrayal, trauma, or abuse of any kind and want to rekindle, reestablish, start for the first time their relationship with themselves and grow in that area. And so how we came to have this moment together today, I grew up in a wonderful Christian household. Yes, we'll use those words together, with parents who loved God. They loved each other. They were married for a lifetime and were a great example of self-sacrificial marriage. My mom was terminally ill, my father, her caretaker. And I believe they did the very, very best they could do. And I'm glad for that example. At the same time, I was molested from age 8 to 16. And that really, really does affect how you see yourself. Of course, those are formative years. So it affected how I saw myself, how I related to God in a faith-based household, and how I related to men. Fast forward when I met the man I married and later unmarried, there were definitely red flags present. But as a woman of faith, I was a praying woman. I believed that God was with us. And because of that, I believed that whatever trouble came, we'd be able to overcome it, outlast it. We'd be this great redemption story and, walk off in the proverbial sunset of ministry. And so folks who grew up in Christendom understand that kind of fantasy. So anyway, trouble came like right away, y'all, and never quite left. We got into this cycle of what I call coping in crisis, where you're like barely making it, walking on eggshells, trying to like avoid a blow up. And then one comes anyway, no matter how hard you try. And okay, so your whole world is disheveled and like there's terrible things happening. And you kind of settle back out of that crisis into your coping dance again. And so we did this for a number of years, and the crises became worse and worse over time and more frequent. And things kind of came to a head. End of 2019, beginning of 2020, he eventually did leave for another woman. And then I found out him and that woman had been plotting my murder, y'all, like for months by the time I found out about it, which sounds like a movie, but was actually my real life. And I had to, everything was just like record scratch. You just like stop the presses. Oh my gosh. My whole life really became real. And I was threatened as a wife, as a mom, as a woman, as a child of God, but also as a coach. I had been coaching faith-based marriage. I'm laughing because of how ridiculous this all sounds, but I promise you, this is my real life. I was teaching faith-based marriage and how to stay married in difficult circumstances, because that's what I knew how to do. That's what I was doing. And I was helping other people do that. in whatever their circumstance was. And I was doing that for maybe 5 or 6 years by the time all this happened. So if you can imagine kind of having an identity based on a platform, whatever you believe in the strongest, like whatever that is for you, if you imagine that thing falling apart, like, and there's no keeping the secret, like, it's like a pregnancy. You can hold it in for so long, but eventually someone's going to see that belly, right? So like there's no getting away and slinking into the corner. It was all just kind of on the floor. And I had a choice to make. I had several choices to make. Ultimately, I could allow the person I was up until that time, the person that my ex-husband had kind of, the identity he had carved out for me and I accepted, the faith identity, the female identity, the cultural identity that I had just allowed to operate in a default way. And I'll say it this way, in a way that I kind of formed an identity around who he was expecting me to be. And I think a lot of women, a lot of wives in and out of faith-based culture are kind of taught that that's the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to pretend to like what they like. As a matter of fact, my mother gave me that advice. And she didn't give me a lot of relationship advice flat out. She didn't give me a lot of, here's what you do and don't do. But in one rare moment, that was something that she told me to do. Learn about whatever he's into and be into whatever he's into. And that's my mom. I respect her. I took that must be important information. And I did that. And it wasn't faking. Like, I did everything I could to be really into whatever he was into. So ultimately I could choose that, which unfortunately he was into my demise. Or I could choose life. And so by a divine set of events, I was able to get myself and my children to safety. And we've been healing and thriving ever since. And I wrote a book out of all of that because that's a lot. And the book is called I Choose Life. Rewrite your love story and change your legacy. And it's not just about, a romantic love story that you might want to change, but changing how you learned to love, learn to express love, change how you learn to receive love, change how you understand what that even is supposed to look like, what you're aspiring for, what you are subconsciously making moves to get closer to. Change that. And that changes the game all around in a way that some of this surface level knowledge just doesn't. And so you can get a copy of I Choose Life at thereboundcoach.com/book. There are an ebook. There's an ebook copy. You can get it from Amazon, or you can get one of my hard copies, which I will personally sign and send off to you. Again, that's at thereboundcoach.com/book. And the name of the book is I Choose Life. So wanted to share that with you. And before we talk about today's topic, so today's topic is Superwoman's Kryptonite. I had a great day today, y'all. I spent the day with some professionals in a professional development kind of gathering, kind of meeting. And I got to observe some professional women. And it was interesting. Some super women, I would say. High achieving, smart professionals. We're not talking about your folks just out of college. We're talking about people established in their careers and know their stuff, right? But yet and still. So some of the things I just shared with you were interwoven into the dialogue, into the body language. And it's not, just the people I observed and myself, right? Like, I was part of that group today, but it's all over. It's all over, where we kind of apologize for existing And there's just a lot of assumption and self-deprecating humor, self-deprecating comments. Like, we think shame is cute or like somehow becoming, or it's appropriate to pretend like our brains don't work. Clearly they work, right? Like, the only reason these folks were in the room is because they're smart. They know what they're talking about. They're accomplished. Not just they know it, they've proven it. They're experienced. Like, it was a really strong group. But those are the same people that are, oh, I'm so sorry. Gosh, I think my brain isn't working right now. Like, why do we think that's a way to live? And so I'm going to talk about Superwoman's Kryptonite, because there's a lot of women, there's a lot of people that are just kind of busy with everything. I know for myself, the task list is infinite. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. There is no end. As soon as you do something, 20 more things pop up, and you're just reminded of how far behind you are, right? And no matter how much you push, you feel like you're not progressing, right? Have you ever felt that? Have you ever felt like, man, I am working my buns off. I am, up from morning to night. I get up before the sun rises. I go to bed way after everybody else in the house. I'm working so hard, but I don't feel like I'm getting any closer, right? And you could even be accomplishing things. Sometimes we work hard and don't accomplish, right? But sometimes we do. We actually accomplish things and still feel like, man, I'm just not getting anywhere. Or whatever you accomplish, you're only there for a half second because you're in a hurry to get to the next thing. And you might be constantly attaining things, but not reaching your goals or feeling accomplished. You're rushing to check the boxes off the list, and you get it, but then you're like, oh my gosh, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And that satisfaction just never comes. And you might find your life just kind of going through the motions, right? And because there's something that's holding you back, and it's not lack of education. It's not even, some strategy we don't know. I'm in the professional development and personal development space. So there's a lot of people that are kind of personal development junkies, and they go from event to event and listen to from guru to guru and join this challenge and go to that event and do this program and that program. And they're doing all the things thinking that thing is going to propel them into whatever they want. Like, then I'll feel satisfied. Even in cycles of healing. So I help women heal. Even in cycles of healing, we might feel like, man, if I just get to that next, if I do that next program, if I go to that next, spiritualizing it, if I go to that next service or revival or whatever it is, then I'm gonna feel okay, right? And it never quite comes, right? But there's something that weigh us down. You can do all the things and not get anywhere, because the way I see it in my mind is like, it's like the ball and chain, right? So you might be the smartest, strongest, fastest person in a room, but you can't seem to win over your competition because there's a ball and chain on your foot, right? Or like the resistance bands that just hold you back and hold you down. And the way that works is you don't even see it, right? The strong women that I was in the room with today couldn't hear the self-deprecating words that they were saying. I was sensitive to it at listening to them, but I might have said stuff I didn't notice, right? It's so interwoven into the culture. It's so interwoven into what is considered socially acceptable, or even like desirable for a woman in the workplace to just, make comments that infer that she doesn't know what she's doing. And she does. And it's proven that she does, or she wouldn't be there in the first place, right? So what I'm getting at, the stuff the kryptonite that stops us from getting promotions and raises and flourishing in our businesses and accomplishing the stuff that's on our heart to accomplish, even in the relationship space. It comes from stories and trauma and the stuff that has held us back. I was one of the people I got to observe today and be in the room with is, has been at it, has been professionally at her job for a while, has been doing well in the professional realm for a while. But you could just see the discontent kind of on her face. And she would ask things like, hey, can I do this? Is that okay? Is it okay if I have some water? Like this actually happened today. We're at a table, people are eating. She's asking me to pass her the water, but instead of saying, hey, Dallas, can you pass me the water, please? She turns to me and says, is it okay if I get some water? Can you pass me that water, please? Is it okay? Like, I know she didn't hear that. I know she didn't consciously think like, I'm not sure if I'm allowed, right? Like that wasn't a conscious thought, but it clearly came out of her mouth this way. And we do this. Professional women who want to be professional, we do this. Why is she asking permission for water? She's a grown woman, right? Why is that a way to show up? And I'm not picking on her in particular. It's just happened to be a current example. And I'll tell you this too. So, my kids, I'm going to tell you the story, y'all. I have 2 daughters. They are wonderful, wonderful girls. And I love them so much. They are 10 and 11 years old. Okay. So they asked me the other day to watch The Little Mermaid. And y'all know that movie. Okay. I don't have to tell you. And I said, okay, you can watch it. Right. But in the back of my mind, I was like, oh gosh, I don't like that message. Right. Like, I don't like that message at all. And I mean, okay, so a girl likes a boy and she needs to change her body, like change her entire identity, disrespect her family. She disobeys her father, right? She makes a deal with the devil figure in the movie and she loses her voice. All because of what? She wants to be part of his world, the man, right? Like drama ensues. Very entertaining, very earworm kind of stuff we never forget. We all know this from childhood, right? So we all know this story. It's burned into our conscious, our collective cultural conscious. Okay, so check it. I let the kids watch the movie and I'm like, okay, so we got to talk about this. Like, why did Ariel make a deal with Ursula? Because she wanted Eric, right? Okay. So if you like somebody, do you need to change your body, change your identity, disrespect your parents, disobey them, make a deal with the devil, lose your voice to be a part of this man's world? Oh, no, I don't have to do all that. Like they knew this from context, my context, because my next question was, how do you know? And the answer was, because you said it like that. That's how I knew, which I guess is smart. But my hope would be like they know that because it's wrong, right? But these are messages that the movies give children. These are messages I got when I was a kid. I watched that same movie over and over again like kids do, right? We all share those kinds of stories, right? That's a story. Stories don't always come from trauma that happened to you. Very often it does, right? So something happens and how we interpret what happened becomes a story that we live and continue to repeat into adulthood unless we intentionally change it, right? So that's story how it normally is displayed to you, but also story like from the movies, right? And the way I broke it down to them is, in a little while, if you see somebody that you like, I want you to know those thoughts will come. The thoughts that say, I'm going to have to change my body to be accepted. I'm going to have to change, I'm going to lose my voice. What does that look like in real life? That looks like asking for permission for water when you're a grown woman in a professional setting. That looks like I can't say the things that I want to say. I can't represent myself the way I actually am. I need to represent myself in the way that this person is expecting. And I did that in the marriage I was in, clearly. And some of it is because you don't know yourself, as a person who's growing. Everybody's growing, right? So part of it was I didn't know who I was in the first place. So I couldn't represent myself well if I didn't know who I was. And the other part of it truly is just like the preteen girls. I don't think we ever grow out of it. We're created for love, we're created for companionship. We thrive on praise. Every human being does. Every human being does. We're created in the image of God. Our God likes to be praised. So do we. Our God likes to be loved. So do we. Our God likes attention. So do we. And whatever the story is that we learned early on, whether that's from movies, whether that's from trauma, whether that's from just watching the parentals and watching the adults around us, watching the examples that we had, whatever they were, how we learned this is what it takes to get someone's affection, right? What did I think it took? I thought it took service of some sort. So a story that I am continually learning to grow out of is, people only want you for what you do for them, right? That if you didn't do anything for them, they wouldn't have any use for you. They wouldn't hang out with you. They don't want your time. They want your talents. They want your money. They want what you do for them. And so a lot of how I showed up in the world, how I showed up to people was, here's what I can do for you. Here's what I can do for you. That's the only song I sang. Here's what I can do for you. Here's what I can do for you. Because that's what I felt that people needed to hear. So that's what I would say, right? So that's how I showed up in the marriage. That's how I showed up with my father and the business that we worked together. That's how I showed up in my early business offerings. Now, God has given me a lot. He's given me a lot to do. He's given me a lot of gifts to operate in, and I do the best I can. But it still came from a place of, look at everything I have. Don't you want to spend time over here? Look at everything we have. And that's not necessarily what people need. Right? That's just not necessarily what people need. And so that was a story I had. And so for the chick in the movie, she needed like everything had to change. So she made a deal with the devil and everything, right? But I ask you, as people who are listening, what might you have given up for potential satisfaction? So, like in the movie there, she had a potential satisfaction. She didn't even taste satisfaction. She had a hope for what she thought this relationship would do for her. And so she did all these changes to try and get it. What did we give up? What part of our voice did we give up to be part of, for potential satisfaction, for what somebody might do for us? What part of ourselves did we give up? What likes or dislikes that we just discard? I'm just not going to be that person. I'm going to be this person over here, right? And it doesn't happen all at once, and it definitely is not conscious. I think maybe when we're teenagers, some of that stuff is clear, right? Like teenagers change how they're showing up. Everybody has some sort of a funky phase, right? And however that translates, right? But it's less clear in adulthood. It's less clear. We just kind of show up the way we think they want in dating, right? And should that relationship continue? Should you get married? The enchantment fades, right? But we're still kind of in this back and forth. Here's who I'm going to show up as to suit you. And a lot of women, I can't speak for a man's perspective, but for a lot of women, that is what we're told we're supposed to do. Like that's the role. This is how you show up. Okay. You accommodate, you make space for, you make sure, you take care of him. And that's what taking care of him ends up looking like, right? Only liking what he likes. He doesn't get to support what you do. Right. Anyway, not going to beat Continue to be the horse. But what have you given up for potential satisfaction? And then how did that work? How did that work for you? And if it didn't work, what can you do? Right? What can you do to take your power back? What can you do to turn things around for yourself, to say, you know what, I'm not going to live someone else's life, someone else's version of me, right? And we're not in the blame game. We're not in the, well, if he didn't, I wouldn't. Because the reality is we control ourselves, right? We make choices. We decide that we're going to give up this portion of ourselves to be with this person. And we'll give up another portion of ourselves to keep the peace with that person. And we'll give up another portion of ourselves to keep that person in the house. And we'll give up another portion of ourselves to keep the marriage intact. And we'll give up another portion of ourselves to keep keep appearances up. Like it's little small compromises that change your identity, right? Or lose it, or hide it, or disguise it, however you want to say that. And I'm only going to give one step. So oftentimes if you come to these lives, you'll hear, 3 keys to this and 4 steps to that. We're only going to do one action step. Okay. How do you get out of the hamster wheel of superwomaning? I made a new verb, superwomaning with no payout, right? How do you do that? One step, y'all. You make time to stop the motion, right? So if we're going through the motions, we're getting up every day, we're doing the tasks, we're taking the kids where they got to go, and we're going to work or staying home to work, however we're doing that. And we're taking care of this person, taking care of that person, and maybe we volunteer, or, whatever it is, guys, that we've crowded our life with. Whatever we've crowded our life with, the key to taking your power back is to stop the movement for a time. And that could be like 5 minutes. That could be an hour. You could take 15 minutes to just sit in silence. Yes, sit in silence. I'm talking to myself as well. Sit in silence. Sit in your thoughts. Sit in your feelings. Well, I don't want to. Yeah, that's the point. Like, that's the whole entire point. There's a time for everything. So there's time for being around people, and there's benefit in being around people. There's benefit in having noise. I am one who likes to keep noise. I keep music on, and I like a certain atmosphere, right? So I understand the value of that. But there's also value in keeping yourself company and learning to enjoy your own company. And if you're not enjoying your own company, there's a reason. And if we're constantly like, we can't be in silence, there's a difference between I value a certain atmosphere around me and I use music and sound to do that, versus I can't stand to be alone, and so I always keep noise going, right? I can't stand to be alone, so I pull on other people. When we get desperate like that, and that's what it is, when we get desperate like that, we people are repelled from the neediness. I spoke to a woman about that recently. Believers are commanded to walk alongside people in their trouble. They are. However, no one can meet that need except God, right? And that doesn't seem like it's enough, because we're looking for a different taste. If you can imagine, changing your diet, right? So if you are a carnivore, and let's say you decide to not eat any meats for a certain amount of time, your taste, who's used to that taste, is like, well, where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? I want a steak, right? And you're eating, your body is full, right? But it's not, your brain and your taste buds tell you otherwise. So same thing, there's a certain taste that we're trying to fill, like with junk food almost. And what we need is that solitude. And it's not easy. It's simple, but not easy, switching the mode of operation. right? So the one step, y'all, take time to stop the motion, sit still with you, and hear from your creator, and not the instructional kind, right? So when I talk about and think about hearing from God, or being in God's presence, or being still, or listening for his voice, I can't speak for anybody else. I automatically think about, like, okay, what do I need to do now? It's a checklist. Again, exchange. So it's a story that, he's only here for what I can do. What can I do? What do I need to do? What I need to do, right? And there's a lot of doers around, and that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's the fast path to burnout, right? And to, depression and unhappy living. And the opposite of that is to be, and just exist, just exist. Not fight, not do, not accomplish, just exist, man. Just exist. And that can be hard to do when you got a real long to-do list and lots of responsibilities and people to take care of. So I have the honor and privilege, along with my partner, Malikia K. Courtney, and some other fabulous facilitators, we have the beautiful opportunity of creating sacred spaces intended for that slowdown. It's 3 days of VIP healing retreat. That's coming up in like a week and a half. I'm so excited. It's coming up really soon. And it's called the Sanctuary Experience. And I want to share just a tiny clip of someone's sanctuary experience that happened last year from Miss Deborah Russell.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Russell. I'm here in Clearwater, Florida at the Sanctuary Experience. Today I was able to witness powerful women speak about things that should have broken them, that could have broken them. But what I learned is that everyone has the strength to excel, the strength to persevere. And so that's what we're working on today, tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. Don't miss out.
So it's coming up soon. Friday, September 16th through Sunday, September 18th, which is just a week and a half away, literally like 10 days. Oh my gosh. Clearwater Beach, Florida. You can find out more information. We only take 10 women for this experience because it is intense. And there are count them, 2 spots left for this upcoming sanctuary. If one of those spots is yours, you go to thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary, thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. And don't miss it. The chances like these, this is just not, it's not like any other conference you've ever been to. It's not a conference. And even in retreat land, this is not normal. It is something special. It really is something special. And it gives you the opportunity to just unplug from the rat race for 3 days and receive and just be and not do. And for those that have titles and, ministry titles and all that, you don't have to be minister, whatever. You can just be you. My gosh. What if you could just be you? And nobody judged you and nobody held you to any standard, and we just loved you and accepted you. That's what it is. Y'all come get this love. I'm so excited. Okay. So that's it for today. If you're hanging out on Facebook, you can join us on Clubhouse. If you Clubhouse, because after this, I'll be having a conversation with the folks in the room. So the Clubhouse room is also called Superwoman's Kryptonite. Listen then share, and it is in the Sanctuary XP Club. Okay, so if you Clubhouse, go over to Clubhouse. You can also search my name, Dallas Cohen, with a K, Kohen. and you can hang out over there with us, and we'll be talking about, I want to hear, so prep, y'all who is in Clubhouse, prep with this question. What are some things that you've given up in the search for potential satisfaction, whether that's romantic or otherwise? You're like, I'm going to be satisfied, so I'm going to give up this piece of myself. This is the part of me I'm going to change. So that's what I want to hear from y'all in the Clubhouse room. And for you on Facebook, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. I don't take that for granted. I really appreciate you sharing this space. I would love to hear in the comments what resonated with you. And I'd love it if you would share this with a family member or a friend or someone who needs to know that they're not alone, and someone who needs to know that they don't have to apologize for breathing and living, and they don't have to change who they are for potential satisfaction. There is a way out of the rat race, and they're going to be okay. So thanks again for joining me. I appreciate your time today. And until next time, choose life.